Good morning today, 22nd August 2024. We are going to discuss editorials of The Hindu. First article here talks about human rights. This article discusses how human rights can be founded. Across the world, there is a human right issue, and then how this human right can be supported. So, author gives one example: naming and shaming. Basically, you point out a country and then you isolate it. By that, you can improve the human rights. So, we'll discuss this article in detail. There are two ways to comply human rights norms when enforced. One approach is you put economic sanctions or military invasion. This is the economic sanction and military invasion only possible in case of your powerful nation. Suppose the United States carrying a military or economic sanctions on Iran. That can be taken as example. Other strategy is through forceful condemnation that is taken by non-governmental organization, even smaller nations, irrespective of their military or economic power. Even international clout also, they can come together, and then when they are lacking consensus, these countries can point out that you are making mistake. The practice of state sovereignty puts up the barrier to the implementation of international human rights standards. This moral pressure against government who are perpetrating violation of human rights, this succeeds in pushing the states to bring back human rights in normal action. There are certain states are there: Vladimir Putin from Russia, Xi Jinping from China, even Kim Jong-un from North Korea. These pleadings they have completely ignored. Many nations complained about violation of human rights in these countries, but they have completely ignored. Recently, war is happening between Russia and Ukraine. Many people have come out on the street against Russian government, but government cannot heed to them. Even China, you can say Uyghur province. Uyghur province, it is adjacent to Pakistan in the westmost border. That area, a lot of human right violations have been reported, but countries, even world is silent about that. North Korea, you already know how human right violation happening there. So what should be like liberal narrative so that this kind of human right abuse can be avoided. Rochelle Tarmara, this human rights scholar, in his study Geopolitics of Shaming, when human rights pressure works, in this study they have pointed out that the only way in the sense she pointed out can be those who are perpetrating guilty of human abuse. All these things can be pointed out by naming and shaming. What is naming and shaming? Basically, you name the country and then you shame them. You are doing such a kind of thing. So these issues will help countries and then bring them into limelight, and then so that they can bring moral ground into action. There are n number of political occasions across the world that impacted naming and shaming, that helped in endorsing human right accountability, even reforms also. Such campaigns resulted in exerting huge pressure on this government to improve the human right records. You can see countries such as Myanmar and Ethiopia. Myanmar, we know already, the Rohingya community, they have crossed the borders, they entered Bangladesh, even India also. A lot of populations related to Rohingya community, because human right violation was happening very large case. Even you see certain countries, Colombia, Argentina, this naming and shaming led to huge impact, tangible impact on the policy deviation to address human right apprehensions. There were certain dictators there: Augusto Pinochet from Chile, Slobodan from Serbia, Charles Taylor from Liberia, Alberto Fujimori from Peru. They have been prosecuted for crimes against the humanity after worldwide criticism of their dictatorship when that was established. Across, if you take different culture, from both modern and traditional, violence against marginalized ethnic groups, even LGBTQ community also led to this increase in the safeguards and appreciation of basic human rights. Campaign against such perpetrators, this led to increase in access to justice and even rehabilitating victims of human rights abuses. These naming and shaming efforts most of the time fail, but Shelly Walia, she taught about cultural theory at Punjab University with some guilty government resisting or denying allegations or making cosmetic changes. When someone complains that you are violating human rights, they will make clear to world that they are doing something. In essence, they won't do anything. One best example could be from Hitler's time, when Hitler completely violated human rights issues by persecuting Jews community in Germany. No one complained. Even some those who complained, he showed that he is carrying out educational camps for them. Actually, those camps were concentration camps. Even if we take present example to Israel, several countries have come and then they have made huge impact on this country to bring human rights issues on the ground. October 7th, Palestinian government condemned the action of Hamas on Israel, but Hamas with this action almost 1200 people in Israel died and Israel retaliated against the Hamas. Now almost 40,000 people in Hamas country have been died and most of the people, even 90% of the population have been rehabilitated from one location to another location. They are living in quarters that are highly dangerous for living condition. So most of the countries, even students also showed their placards in most of the countries showing solidarity with Palestine, but Israel refused to resist such a movement. So what should be the state of act, how the human rights can be improved? One area what other states is liberal actors, liberal players, they have to come up and then they have to work with government to bring human rights issues on the ground. There are certain government players, what they do is, in the name of liberalism, in order to bring the human rights on the ground, they act that they are proposing human rights. But once they come into power, they want more power. They ignore the human rights. They bring a dictatorship onto the ground. Such a kind of people should be avoided. State must work with the liberal players and then society conscience must come together. We live in a world that is completely guided by prejudice and even in fanaticism. Authoritarian government, they tyrannize the people where freedom of speech is almost most of the time resisted. So the very dignity of the people is repudiated. Even fundamental freedom is also cramped. So what should be done? What is the role of the state? Even human rights groups also to bring one area what other states to bring to restore this personal liberty, even bring guilty to the justice within the ambit of universal declaration of human rights. It is the responsibility of the state. Such a call for bringing justice to all the people must bring various functions, policies of the state. It should increase its policies toward the question of human rights at the center stage, and then they bring environment of peace, tolerance and understanding. To bring such a kind of monumental changes, it is a pragmatic state take this task binding and sacred, right? They shouldn't avoid at any cost. In case of state shows any reluctant to patronizing such a cause of human rights, there are n number of groups come up with human right violation and then it will become a norm. Achievements and disappointments in implementing human rights are better understood within the context of liberal modernity where repression-free state respects human rights without any bias or partiality. Rules of equal treatment stand on the forefront of crucial concern. So it is highly important, even it is undeniable that this human right issue is growing, human right violations across the world is going. So liberal systems, they have to come, they have to sustain stability through generating public welfare in egalitarian environment. Everyone must have their own fundamental right, freedom of speech, right to life, right to dignity. By consolidating this foundation of human rights, political coalitions, institutional arrangements, even political ideologies, they must be mobilized with a strategy for achieving compliance and justice through holding those culprits who are perpetrating the human rights, whatever Latin American country they have done to their leaders who violated human rights issues, the same model can be followed across the world. This remains. See, there is the absence of human rights in North Korea, China, in even now many of the countries where right-wing government across the world. Success of this political system depends not on these prerequisites of far rights, this open-minded legality, democratic capability, even authoritarian ideological status. They must be come up with good governance, minimum government, maximum governance. They should not be guided by this maximum power over the people. Such a kind of dictatorship is always dangerous for the country to uphold human right issue. This is the article about human rights, how human right issues can be violated, and how to propose them and then maintain them in good condition. Next article talks about budgetary disappointment about LGBTQ communities. Article author is from National Congress Party, so we won't discuss political aspect. This article very good discussion for LGBTQ community. In run up to this 2024 general elections that was happened in April to May, several political parties they have supported for this LGBTQ community. What is LGBTQ plus? Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and then other people included in this community. Supreme Court famously called them as third gender. But recently, Union government placed budget in 2024-25. It dashed the hopes of these queer Indians, recognizing their recognition in this national politics. A transformative approach towards LGBTQ communities never expected, especially Solicitor General of India. He opposed marriage equality before Supreme Court of India last year. Even Bharatiya Janata Party government they have included in their manifesto for LGBTQ community, but when it comes to budget, a very meager amount of funds have been allocated to them. So now LGBTQ community found itself reduced to just a footnote in the budget. They just mentioned there Ministry of Social Justice. They brought two schemes. One is Smile program. Even Garima Grahas. What is Smile program? Comprehensive rehabilitation for welfare of the transgender persons under this support for marginalized individuals for livelihood and enterprise. Smile program. This is for rehabilitation and welfare of this transgender person. Even a program compromises to fund Garima Grahas. These are what is Garima Grahas? These are shelter homes. Even scholarship and National Council for Transgender Persons (NCTP). In budget, welfare fund for transgender people increased from 52.91 crore to 68.46 crores in this budget financial year 25. But when we look closer, how much of this fund has been executed? Actual expenditure in the last year was just 22.82 crores. So now you can understand the discrepancy that reflected in even these welfare homes. Garima Grahas, they have been shut down for almost 2 years due to lack of funding. Even National Council for Transgender Person also is barely functional. Nobody, even people who complain there, complaints are very less. Even complaint cannot be taken at any point of time. So this is the issue with the transgender third community. So now what is like author states is Sabka Vikas, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, whatever planned in this budget, even a manifesto that need to be enforced. This Smile program, not only for the victim of the government's apathy, government negligence, even more troubling is that reduction of funding for NACO, National AIDS Control Program. There is a reduction of funding from 3,079 crores to 2,892 crores in this budget. What this NACO does? NACO is tasked with combating HIV, AIDS, and then preventing sexually transmitted infections. This NACO plays a very important role in public health. Despite decades of progress, India still faces one of the largest human immunovirus deficiency syndrome epidemics in the world. With LGBTQ community Indians, they are at a higher risk of contracting the virus, and then they are facing distinct psychological challenges also. Today, if you consider, there are 24 lakh people in India who live with HIV. Of those, almost 9 lakh people are not linked to treatment. More than half million are unaware of whether they are infected or not. So, the credible study by NACO in 2003, they estimated that 6% of the India's adult population was infected with sexually transmitted infections. Even more recent National Family Health Survey in 2019-21, they highlighted 23.3% of the sexually active unmarried men between 15 and 29 years, they had more than one sexual partner with risky sex practices. Even lack of condom use prevalent in both urban and rural areas also. What made government to slash funding for not only for this HIV prevention but also fight against sexually transmitted infections when we are staring at potential public health crisis? Yesterday we discussed about universal health coverage, so now there is a risk of AIDS controls also. What kind of rights we have denied? There is a lack of budgetary allocation, not just marginalized priorities, even ideological difference also. Systematical denial of rights to millions of LGBTQ community Indians, blocking their access to equal share of country's resources. Right to equality is denied. 2011 census, there were 4.9 lakh transgender Indians. Even if we accept this disproportionality low figure, 2024 budget allocated just 1400 per person per transgender person. But if we take a realistic figure, transgender population could be anywhere around 1.22 crores. This makes just 56 rupees for them. So there is a huge denial of rights. Young Indians, this emboldened by court victories of Constitution of India, you know already, Indian Penal Code 370, Supreme Court gave historic judgments decriminalizing same-sex marriages between transgender persons. Even the court has identified them as a third gender. So now these young Indians, they are facing huge issue. Then this suicide rates among LGBTQ youth also growing, and then guarantee for equal access to education and employment is also growing. They are bullied in the school, they are harassed in the school. In order to avoid such a kind of issue, in order to bring equality to everyone, state must support LGBTQ communities. This political party, what author states, member of parliaments from opposition party, they should come together, they should voice demands of LGBTQ community. Whatever they have included in the election manifesto, they have to stand up for these rights of LGBTQ community in the parliament. For too long, queer Indians have relied upon courts for guaranteeing them rights. They have waited for almost decades to get the justice. As we go through new political changes, it is important for queer movement to build upon impressive history. They have carried out a lot of struggles. If you see in 1988, Namdo Dhasal March happened in Mumbai, so where transgender women, even sex workers from Kamtipura to Dadan Chief Minister Sharad Pawar residents to demand protection from money lenders. Even Shabnam Mausi, she was elected as India's first transgender MLA from Sohagpur in Madhya Pradesh in 1998. Such a kind of struggles they have carried out, but today they found at bottom of the position. There are recent success are there, establishment of the Transgender Welfare Board in Maharashtra in 2020, even drafting Tamil Nadu LGBTQ policy in 2024. They indicate judicial progress results in executive actions only when they sustained by civil society pressure. Civil society must come. They should take all the lessons to the heart, working not only for the center, from the state, even local bodies also, to ensure that these rights are followed not only on the paper but also on the implementation point of view. So this article is very good from LGBTQ community point of view. So next article we will discuss about dam Tista River. You can see two types of dam here. One on your left corner, this is just concrete dam. On your right side, this is a gravity force dam. So those dams which are built based on the gravity, they withstand for more years. Concrete dams, when huge flood comes, they will be subjected to huge pressure. There is a chance that cracks may also propagate. Wayanad in Kerala now coming back to normal life. You know already Wayanad recently because of the flash flood, almost 300 plus people died, and then even 300 and more people they are. We cannot even discover their bodies. Recently, one more landslide happened in Sikkim that caused damage to 6 houses. Even building of the National Hydro Electric Power Corporation in Tista 5 hydro station at Gangtok. There is no comparison of the impact of the event at the both places because there was no loss of lives or even injuries reported at the Sikkim. But we need to discuss one concerning thing. What is that? This is the second natural disaster led assault on this hydropower project along this Tista. What is this Tista project? We were discussing quite some time because this Tista project, there is a agreement between Bangladesh and us to share water to Bangladesh. So even when former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, when she visited India, she had discussed extensively about Tista. Even West Bengal Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee objected it, stating that giving water to Bangladesh will make farmers of West Bengal impoverished. So she was against that decision. So this Tista river is very much news in these days. Huge flow of water from south of this glacier in North Sikkim in October. This washed away Chungtang Dam that was critical for this Tista 3 power station, which is not operated by National Hydroelectric Power Corporation. Even Tista 3, its capacity is 1200 megawatt power project that was largest hydroelectric project in the state until it was effectively grounded after the outburst. It was completely broken. Only 10th of the project was originally being supplied by the project is now available. So if you have constructed all the project, now only 1/10 of the project is. So ninth of the project is completely washed away. Now the Tista 5 project, which is of 510 megawatt capacity, it has also been made non-functional since this glacier lake outburst. This is also not working. So what we can learn from this disaster? The disaster gives a new light on this old, but this difficult problem posed by hydropower projects. From initial proposals nearly almost 30 years ago, there were proposals to have 47 power projects along the run of this Tista project in Sikkim, West Bengal, but only 5 projects exist. About 16 are in various stages of consideration. 47 projects have been considered, only 5 have been come into picture, but 16 are in the consideration stage. What is Tista River? Tista River is a tributary of Brahmaputra River. This originates from Tso Lamho Lake at the elevation of about almost 5,280 meters in north of Sikkim. This river travels about almost 150 km in Assam, 123 km in West Bengal. This enters in Bangladesh from Makhaliganj in Cooch Behar district. It flows again 140 km in Bangladesh and then it joins in Bay of Bengal. Theoretically, the river courses through this undulating terrain. This gives government to extract much benefits as possible for these power projects. Though decades, several companies have bid for project that auctioned out by state governments, but process has rarely without any complication. So there were several complications in the bidding process also. Now, what is this complicated process? One is environmental risk. Then another thing is insurance of cost of taking insurance properly, even public perception about that, and most of these projects, those who come for bidding, those bidders aim for higher profit. So this profit also make a huge impact on this project. In case of Tista 3 project, if you see, reports stated that developers, in order to save on the cost, they built concrete faced rockfill dam as opposed to concrete gravity dam. So we discussed concrete gravity dam. So this is very safe, but to save money, they went for concrete faced rockfill dam. So one reason why it was completely washed away. Even environmental impact assessment of this hydroelectric project, in this region, they must give clear estimate of what kind of cost has been involved. So everyone, they are not working for, just for charity. Everyone wants profit. In that case, environmental impact assessment could have given more realistic estimate, so that their profit could have also been taken into account. Then project could have been being very robustly. This will be dedicated to the nation and it will last for almost hundreds of years. So this incident will not only strengthen public faith in this project but also environmentally sustainable. So these kind of issues keep repeating. We need to learn from these things. So today this much only discussion. Thank you very much for discussion.